the cycle of the Jesus story. I just want to lay it out for you really quickly. We have the prediction of the coming Messiah. We have the conception, immaculate, not the immaculate, that was his mom. We have the amazing conception of Mary, of Jesus and Mary. We have the birth of Jesus. We have the giving of Jesus at the temple. We have the missing years from the time he was a teenager until he was about 30 or so. Perhaps he was gone to Persia, to India, to learn from the great mystics there, China even. But our scripture cycle picks up with Jesus going into the wilderness and having that time of trial and vision, and in the end seeing the difference between the divine and what was not divine, that is, what would save him and what would distract him. He begins his ministry and almost immediately he's in danger, and the danger culminates in the execution of Jesus, just one of Jews who were executed at that time, his death, his burial, his resurrection. And here is where we are in the season of Pentecost. That is, we no longer have the personification of the divine in our presence. He has been murdered, he has been buried, and now his body is missing. And then Jesus shows up in various places. So we have come to the part of the cycle where his physical presence is gone, and now what are we going to do? So our scriptures give us various stories of Jesus appearing by the lake to cook fish for them, by the lake to advise them how to catch fish, in the upper room. And now he is, according to the cycle of the Jesus story, preparing to leave them. And in our scripture today in John, one of the latest gospels written for us, when they have not seen Jesus probably in 3 generations, we have Jesus promising to never leave us alone. Next Sunday is Ascension, and we will say in the cycle of the Jesus story that he is taken up like the other greats, Elijah and others who have been taken up into heaven. In the Jesus cycle story, we don't hear, though, except for on the cross, about the suffering of the people. And we've only imagined Jesus suffering, but we don't imagine the suffering of the women. And the suffering is not told of the women except to one another, and it hasn't made sculpture. This whole sermon is not going to be about suffering. It is going to be about the telling and the healing and the community. This week, Jean Carroll found the courage to receive the verdict or the judgment that she had been harmed. And her great service to us was not only bringing to justice the monster that harmed her, but by telling her story, and that is that the violence against her shut her down, closed off her thinking, made her unable to be intimate, made it unavailable for her to live a full life. And we know that this is the story of so many of us. Dr. Ford tried to tell the story to keep someone from entering the Supreme Court, but she was ultimately not vindicated. And before her, the mothers, the slaves, the ancestors, all have lived through the kind of suffering that could kill you, and sometimes does, but ultimately did not. Two of my beloveds have given birth this last year, and both of them suffered postpartum depression and psychosis. And what they each said independently of each other, they don't know each other, they said, nobody told me that it could be like this. Nobody told me that childbirth, though it could be easy, is often really, really difficult. And after the birth, there is never a crew of people who welcome you with heralding and parades to say, I cannot believe you have been broken open in this way to give life to a human being. How is it that she is not put in honor, these people who have opened their bodies to let another life out, ripped apart sometimes and leaking and messy, not just ending the 3 months at the end of maternity leave, but for another year? Good Lord, did you know it's like that? Is this the story that we tell one another, that we are ripped open as a people, not just in childbirth, but the violence brought against women and all kinds of people? When Dr. Ford was trying to tell the truth about the violence against her, I took an informal poll in our congregation, and almost every woman had experienced some kind of degradation on her body and spirit, because our culture allows women to be harmed and men to be harmed in these ways, but there is no way to hold a parade or to bring heralds or baskets of food to say, I am so sorry that you have suffered this. Why is that, my beloved ones, when we have vowed to care for one another, body and soul, do we not take in the ones who have been harmed and bring baskets of food and beautiful wine and cause them to lie upon a pillow and nurse them back to health? Why? I think of our Black women who die, 3 times more often in childbirth than our white women? Why? Here's what I know. We do not cling to the harms done to us because we have things to do. We have children to adopt. We have grandchildren to care for. We have big jobs that are ours to do. We have to feed our people. I had a seminary professor tell me that it's not what happens to you, though sometimes it is. It is how and what you do to live and to survive with a kind of joy. I'm not talking about Disney joy. I'm talking about a kind of joy of stepping upon a wide plain that was made available for us. We know it's there not because Disney has told it, not because of the boutique birth experiences that we were promised, but because we have learned through our difficulty that there is divine care and divine love on a wide plain that is ours to have and to walk on. This is the kingdom of heaven. When I was in the 6th grade, I had a teacher whose name was Miss Woodall, and she played the guitar and she sang Blowing in the Wind. It was the first time I ever heard it. Oh, I idealized her. Did you have a teacher like this? She got married in the middle of the school year, and it pissed me right off because it turned out there was somebody in her life besides me. She went from being Miss Woodall to Miss Chart. And near the beginning of the summer vacation, she asked me and my parents if I could go off to music camp. I didn't know there was such a thing. I thought it was only Bible camp where you had to go learn Bible verses. Music camp. Because she saw something in me. And at the end of music camp, as I was getting on the yellow school bus to be taken back to my own family, she said to me, I have something I have to tell you. I'm not coming back next year. And I could not believe that she would leave me. She said to me, you, I knew, were going to be the hardest to tell. And it was because I needed her so much in order to be seen. I wonder if she was like Jesus to me, who is going to leave us soon in a few little weeks and go up to heaven in a place where we can't access him. But here's what I think I know about Miss Woodall, Miss Chart. I think about Jesus is that when they leave us with two things. One is longing for love. That Rumi says, in fact, is the connection to that being. Longing for love is a connection to the divine. Longing for the presence is what makes us holy. And the second thing, and it's in our scripture today, that when Jesus leaves us, he will be inside of us instead of outside of us. And that together, with Jesus inside of us, the one who has made a wide plain for us, we together are the wide plain, where healing happens, where mothers tell their birth stories, where those who have been harmed band together to say, is that how it was for you too, instead of shame and hiding? Oh no, we're going to come out onto the wide plain with eyes up, hearts pumping, longing for the love that is ours and should always be ours. This is the work of our congregation, the work of your household, the work of our neighborhood. Blessed are you who have been broken open and are living to tell it. Thanks be to God for